Hey there. Welcome to eighth grade social studies. My name is Mr. Rucky, and I'm going to be your teacher this year. I want to just go over a few things with you today in this short video in order to kind of give you a sense of what you might have missed this first week of school and also help you to get signed on to a couple of online textbooks as well as just feel better about being away. Know this, even if you don't get a chance to do some of the things that I cover in this class today, this class video today, don't worry. When you get here, I'll make sure that you're comfortable and are up to speed in no time. Okay. Finally, I apologize for the headphones. Apparently, my computer, its normal microphone, makes it sound like I'm in a fish tank. So I'm wearing this today. Apologies for that. All right. Enjoy the rest of this video, and I hopefully will see you soon in our week is get to know each other a little bit. And we're realizing that social studies is a class that really tends to center on the content of geography and history and human interaction. A couple of things we did was we sort of introduced ourselves by talking about where we're from and a bit of our history. And so I know you can't do this now in terms of sharing that with me, but when you get here, I'd love to hear a little bit of your stories. And so feel free to tell me a little bit about where you're from and some stories from your past. Here's a quick overview of mine. I'm from Minneapolis, which is in Minnesota, which of course is in the United States. Now, a lot of people might know Minneapolis for some things. One of the things that they're known for are the Minnesota Vikings, the NFL football team. I'm a big fan of them. One reason that you might have heard of Minneapolis in the last few years is because of the Black Lives Matter movement and George Floyd. George Floyd was killed in Minneapolis, sadly. However, I would say on if anything good came out of that, it's starting to raise awareness of racial inequality and injustice within my city. So I'm pretty in state. So I'm pretty happy about that. Here's a bit about me. I am a father and a husband. Mrs. Rucky, some of you might have had as a teacher in fifth grade. My boys, Rob and Ryan, both attended SAES. Rob currently goes to Notre Dame, and Ryan goes to Blair Academy. They're happy and they're both doing pretty well. I am also an MUN advisor and love to coach soccer, but I've been a lifelong teacher. And then finally, I'm a type 1 diabetic. Now, this line here says history makes us who we are. And I'm going to trace back some of the origins of who I am to moments in my life. For example, in 1983, I wasn't feeling very well. I had lost weight, was really thirsty all the time, and my parents realized that something was wrong with me, and they decided to take me to the hospital. And I got checked in. And I told my dad before I went there, I don't mind hospitals. I just don't mind. I just really don't like shots. Well, as soon as I got there, I was stuck a bunch of times, and I was told that for the rest of my life, I was going to have to do two things. I was going to have to test my blood sugar, usually poking my finger and taking a blood test, and taking shots. I take shots 4 times a day of something called insulin. Some of you might have remembered me talking about this in fifth grade, but this happened to me in 1983. In 1993, I told you that I'm married to Mrs. Rucky, and in 93, we got engaged and became married. And we told ourselves we could have as many kids as we could afford. Well, that answer turned out we could afford 2 kids. As I said before, Rob and Ryan. They're wonderful and really make my life, our lives complete. In 1996, I told you I was a teacher. Well, that all started in 1996 when I got an opportunity to volunteer teach in the country of Tanzania. There, I worked teaching English to students who were approximately 14 years old. And I not only found that I loved to travel and live overseas, but I really found that I truly enjoyed working and educating people your age in middle school. The reason why what I'm pictured here with this little girl is because she used to come to my house in the mornings and want to play all the time. And after a while, I had to tell her, I'm very tired. And so I would say, Nime choka sana, which means in Swahili, I'm very tired. And then so after a while, she would come in. Her name was Priska, and she would say, Nime choka sana, Michael, and come sit by me. It was really cute. By the way, here's a classroom that I taught in. We had roughly 50 kids and in a classroom without electricity. And so if it was cloudy outside, it was hard to see. We oftentimes only had about 16 or 17 books to go around. And I had some chalk, and that was all the technology I was allowed to use. And yet still I found myself really enjoying working with young people and being a teacher there. That was the activity we did, and I wanted to talk about how for you how history shapes who we are, and that's kind of the overall lesson, and where we're from also matters. It kind of gets us into our culture a little bit, and we'll talk more about this. I'll just mention we did an island activity that helped us to understand how we as an organization of people need government, and how government helps us to get what we need, and helps us to get things accomplished. We also find that oftentimes when we're stressed out and feeling unsafe, the type of government we go for is usually a form of dictatorship. So that was day one. Online textbook. Now, at this point, what I'm going to need you to do is I'm going to need you to go to tci.com. Uh, and in order to do that, I can actually go back here and you'll see it on Google in just a moment. If you go back here and look up TCI, you'll see it's the Curriculum Resource and Program. Okay. So if I click on that, in fact, I could do that or I could click here to student. You could probably do either one. In fact, you might want to go to student, it'd be a little bit easier. But if I go to this program and I say sign in as teacher, you'll want to sign in as student. I will do that, and you'll want to pause the video right now and write down this email address. It's MRUCKI@saeslearning.com. That's my username. That's my username or my email that you're going to need in order to sign in yourself. What you're going to do on the student login page is come here, and you do not want to create an account. You want to click sign in. You'll want to type my email in as such. Sorry. And then you're going to want to write in your username. Your username is going to start with S, and then you're going to have usually a number, say something like that. Okay. And then your password will be, of course, those first few letters plus four additional characters, alphanumeric characters. You should have received a new password this year, and you'll need to do that. If you can log into those two things, that will help you in order to be able to do what we're going to do here in this lesson today, the lesson that again you missed in class, but you'll want to have a chance to do yourself. So if you are able to log into the TCI, if you're not, send me an email if you need to have information about your username or password, because I can probably forward that on to you myself. We're not going to do Geography Alive, we're going to focus on History Alive. So you're going to want to go to History Alive, and you are going to want to go. Now if I go to text, like I said, I have a little more of a different default, but actually if I go back here, you will probably see a table of contents, and you'll want to click on Introduction to the World in 300. And all I want you to do is take 20 minutes, and I want you to explore this unit, it's called, but really it's kind of a chapter. And if you'll notice, the chapter has an introduction, it has a summary, and it has four sections in the middle. And if any of you guys have written a 5 paragraph essay, you'll know the introductory paragraph tells the reader what's in the body, and in the closing or the concluding paragraph summarizes what's happened in the body of your essay as well. Your textbook is designed the exact same way. And so keep that in mind as well. And in fact, if you want to know what this whole section is going to be about, Right there's the title, World in 300 CE. But it's more than that. It's also going to try to answer this question: how did the distant regions of the world become more interconnected through medieval and early modern times? Now, I don't really care as much about the content, I'll be honest, during this section. What I really want you to do is I want you to play around with the tools that you'll find here. And here are the tools all up front here. Selected reading levels, play, Spanish option, main ideas, so on and so forth. Play around with this stuff, check out the features, look all around here and kind of poke around. When you've done the introduction part, go on to the next section, do the same thing. I would like you to spend about 25 minutes just exploring the tools of the online textbook. If you do that, you'll be even more prepared when you come back for class. Thank you. It was an interactive activity. It was a murder mystery where students had to figure out, look at clues and look at evidence and try to figure out a possible suspect to a death that occurred. Of course, that has nothing to do with our class, except for it kind of does, because the same techniques and the same evidence that detectives look at oftentimes are the same types and kinds of sources that historians use in order to tell a story. And instead of getting into a long explanation here, I think in order for you to be best prepared, what I'd like to see you do is do a bit of a web quest, looking up words like primary sources, written sources, and consider all of the types of sources like artifacts, sites, oral tradition, what have you, that historians use in order to best understand what happens. And the biggest takeaway from this unit is really this lesson is to really look at how historians struggle in order to recreate or explain the past. How oftentimes they have to deal with questions like, where did their sources come from? Do the sources, do they match or do they conflict? What are the motivations, agenda, and bias behind some of the sources? How helpful are those sources? Oh, by the way, if you want to check out where where all of my slideshows are, you should go to my Schoology account, and I'll show you that in just course. You're going to see this sort of medieval looking picture here, and if you go to like your courses, again, you'll click on that and it'll be defaulted to my materials page. If you take a look at my materials page, you're going to see lesson plans. And if you click on this folder, you'll find all three of these lesson links here are the slideshows that I use for my class. While they won't cover all that happened in the class, they will give you a reasonable idea of what happened. And so you can look at those and kind of say, oh, I can sort of understand what's happening. All right. Well, thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed this kind of lengthy introduction, and I'm hoping to see you real soon. Thanks again.